Welcome back to Hotchi Motchi. We're going to be talking about in this episode how to fit more cards into your deck. So these will be your MDFCs, your flip lands. These will be adventure cards, rooms. So just more ways to get more action out of one card and not so much just playing the strongest card in that slot. So that way you're just a little more creative with what you're doing with the goal of the deck.
Yeah, you use more choices, right?
Just get a bonus. If you can only put 99 cards in the deck, you know, maybe those cards can do the work of two different cards.
Yeah, I like bonus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what I'd like to talk about today is kind of some of what we'd like to talk about today is kind of some of the stuff that we use in our decks, some things that you guys might not be using that we think that it's probably really good for you guys to, take a look at, and then some of our personal favorites that are almost auto includes, because I know for me, I use a lot of Modal cards even over what the strongest card in its slot should be.
I mean, they're just too good.
They're so good.
In doing research for this, I realized I don't use any of them. I'm a terrible player.
Well, you're the yin to the yang then, right?
Fair enough.
Shows why you're not playing them.
Right. So
no, I should. And I was researching. I was like, it's too good. Why am I not doing this? So.
All right, well, so, I mean, that's probably a pretty interesting place to start, right? That There's probably a ton of people out there that aren't playing a lot of Modal cards. And, I know from Gino and I style of play, Chris, with yours being so different without having any. Tell us a little bit about, what are you using? Like, what makes the cut in the Modal?
I use the lands. So the lands, I was like, this is great. You get a choice. It's so good.
Like the pathways or what lands?
The pathways.
Oh, yeah, the pathways.
And it's really not that good. I mean, I guess it's just kind of a way to fix early, like, mana fixing. Like, it gives you that option unless you're, and then, there's really no point to be bouncing it to try to flip it onto the other side. So it's just a good option to have, I feel like.
Anytime you can get an untapped land and have a choice is always great, right?
Yeah. I mean, so I feel like it's early game fixing, which feels great. Like, you draw that in and you look at your hand, you're like, I can work with this. It gives me that option, that flexibility, depending on what I draw.
Totally.
When you draw, turn 9 or 10, maybe not that great.
It's still an untapped land. It's still untapped.
But it's still an untapped land. You're right. It's still a good card. And that's pretty much what I have limited a lot of my MDFCs to. Probably the other ones that I would use that would always make the cut was the Belaged Recovery, the green that lets you get a card back. It's too good.
One of the strongest uncommons from Zendikar for sure.
Oh yeah.
Easily. And the fight spell, the green, I think it was called
Colony's Ambush, I think is what it's called.
Colony's Ambush.
Yeah. That one's great.
I ran that one a lot too, and I don't know why. I guess maybe just kind of a green interaction, green removal when you need. But I love the idea of it. But my problem is when I would draw them, and we were kind of laughing about this, is that I would get like Seagate Restoration in my opening hand, and I was like, never going to play it for the land side. I love it. I need this card. And you've got to talk yourself in. It's like you've missed a land drop and you're holding on to this card, and you're not going to cast it for less than, 5, 6, 7?
Right.
Like, just
especially if you're struggling on land.
Just drop the land.
That's going to keep you on curve. Like, just play the land, right?
So that was like my weird struggle with it. Like, I'm totally that guy. It hurts to pitch that bomb when you've got a discard or when you've got a mulligan, because you're like, this is great. It's the 8-drop and I'll win the game or I'll do something cool. But you're most likely never going to get to it.
Well, so Steve plays a lot of bounce lands, and that's even a reason to put bounce lands in your deck is the reflip.
Yeah, so let me paint a scenario for you.
Do it, okay? Do it up.
Let me create the pathway that I walk on when I'm choosing the MDFCs. Pathway.
I like it.
What if there was a card created in Magic the Gathering that said, play a land, draw a card? Would you put that in every deck?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So the scenario is, let's use the colored bounce lands, right? Everyone gets them from all of the precons. Everyone has them. So in your Seagate Restoration conversation of you're pushing yourself off of playing it as a land because the spell is so good, right? So play it as the land. That way you make your land drop right. It's obviously the most important thing to do in every game consistently. But what if on turn 4, turn 5, you were able to play the bounce land and put the spell back in your hand? You've effectively played a land, drew a card.
Drew a card. That's actually, that's accurate. Yeah, that's pretty good.
You're sent here by the devil. That's hot stuff right there.
Yeah. So
spicy tech.
Disclaimer: I don't play bounce lands either.
All right.
No,
we'll make you a believer by the end of this.
This has gone all over my head, and I love it. Hey, I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn and burn.
Right, and so since we're thinking about how many more cards that we can put into the deck that'll like really stretch us into the mid and late game, right? Because Gino, you're 100% right that when you're starting the game, right, untapped land is like key in order to curve out and get to where you need to go.
Even mid game or late game, if you have that one big play you're trying to do, you just need one more land, but you get a tapped land, it's a real feel bad, you know?
Yeah. So, and that's how I feel about a lot of the original Zendikar Rising. And why I don't play a lot of them is because they come in tapped, except for the mythic ones, right? The mythic ones are pretty much all good.
Absolutely.
Right? There's a couple really
all
standing out
playable.
ones.
Yeah.
But the big one is the pay 3 life. Shock yourself.
Bolt yourself.
Yeah,
bolt yourself.
Rather, and it comes in untapped. Right?
Worth it. 40 life?
Oh, if life is a resource, perfect.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But that's the inherent downside. And why I think a lot of people have strayed away from the MDFCs is because when you're playing just the Zendikar Rising ones, or when they first came out, we all kind of got excited that there was a spell on a land.
Yeah.
That, you were hitting that turn that you needed that extra mana, and it came in tapped, and it was like, these things are the worst. Get them out of here. So it's pretty interesting, Chris, that you play only the land ones that flip over, because I don't play a lot of those. I think I have maybe one deck that has it in, just because I don't go anything outside of two color pips. I'm not using them.
Okay.
Right, that I just don't think they're good. So what decks are you playing them in that, or consistently that you play them in? 1 color or 2 color, 3 color, 4 color? Like, where does it stop?
A lot of my 2 color, I feel like I'll have them in there just to have that option.
It's pretty safe at 2 color.
It's safe in 2 color. Personal disclaimer on myself, I think all of us do it, is keep track of the decks we've built.
Yeah.
My number one color or combination is all 5 color. Again, you can tell I don't like losing that bomb. I don't like losing the color. I'm greedy. You got to give
all
it
the
to
tools.
me. I want all of it.
Yeah.
I just love Wooburg decks. So obviously in that, I'm not going to run it. It's just a little too slow. It doesn't give you enough color fixing for what I'm looking to do in there. But I would say in a 2 color deck, obviously really safe. Even 3 color, I think I would go to, just to run those 3 lands in place of a basic. Unless there's like a lands matter or kind of a theme that I'm trying to hit. But I'll put those in there. I think it's, again, it just makes me feel better just knowing early game, I get that option. Obviously in the 3 color, it's not as safe because it's like, I really need that blue. And I've pulled the pathway that gives me white and green. Like you're not going to get there still, even though you have that option.
Still untapped.
It's still untapped. You got to get that. You got to get that arcane signet in there. Untapped.
And Gino, you use a lot of these MDFCs. I mean, little disclaimer: this man owns more decks than probably anyone else I know combined together. So use a lot of different modal decks. So if we're, let's just talk about the MDFCs to begin with, because we'll get into different modal cards as we move forward here. But kind of give our viewers here kind of an idea of where you sit in the MDFC world.
Yeah, I kind of look at them as lands with upside, right? So when I put them in my deck, I usually start my deck around 33, 34 lands and then add MDFCs in.
Okay.
And it's extra value, right? Because, I'm willing to play it as a land if I need to. But if I late game and I'm already flooded out or I have enough lands, then it's just a spell,
Sure. Yeah, I know I've landed in quite a few spots to where the bounce land draw card is like saved me, right? And
it's such a strong move.
Yeah, I'm a really big fan of it, especially with how much non-basic land tutoring there is at this point, right? That you can really, like, if I crop rotate, right? So I'll set the scenario of someone has a planeswalker out there. Like, let's say that somebody plays a Narset, right? You play against someone that likes a real good Narset windfall turn, right? We've all been there, right? But if you have the bounce lands in your deck, right, and you're playing Fel Profane, for example, right? You've already played it out. It's already in the battlefield as a land. You crop rotate it out. Let's say that you're playing, something that has Golgari in it, right? The colors.
Sure.
You go and get like an Arid Mesa, right? Bounce the Fel Profane back to your hand, kill the Planeswalker, and then allow the Windfall to resolve. Right, and this is like really what opened my eyes.
It's all instant speed. Yeah.
Right, it's all instant speed interaction. It just gives you more choices, as well as they sit in the safest position is really where I sit when I'm talking about MDFCs and why I love the MDFCs, the land MDFCs, right? The ones that have spells on the backside, is because they're the most protected socially, in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Today, as it stands in Commander, right? No one is playing mass land destruction.
Right.
Right? And so they're sitting
They
in the
better
safest
not be.
Right, yeah. I am the opposite.
Someone out there is.
Right.
That's fine.
I'm the
That's
opposite.
fine.
I'll bring
I
enough
see you.
land hate.
I see you. And I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah. That to where you're really in a position to where you can help to interact with the table more instead of building your deck how we used to, right? That you would have at least 13 to 15 interaction spells built within the deck, and that has really changed. And MDFCs have allowed a lot of that. So I know personally, I sit around like 36 lands. And then I'll start adding MDFCs in.
Before MDFCs. You're
Yeah, so I'll land somewhere around 36, depending on the color pairing.
Got it.
As Chris indicated, I'm a Gruul player, so I'm a total Timmy, right? So it usually lands around 36.
Did I indicate that? Did I add your secret?
No, but I am outed at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fully out.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
100%.
glad. I'm here for you. I love that. Yeah, I'm starting to try to get into it more because, again, I'm just looking at them. I'm trying to change my mindset, and I'm just looking at them as a land. I pretty much strictly run 35 lands in a deck. Again, unless there's a theme or there's a reason.
Yeah.
But I'm just counting them as lands now. I'm putting 35, and if 3 of them are MDFCs, those are lands.
Oh, so the MDFCs aren't increasing your land count. It's just part of your land
It's
count.
just part of my base. And I'm looking at it from the standpoint of I'm just trying to change my mindset because of the value, because of that late game value.
Yeah.
Is like, this is a land. Like, I'm putting it in my deck. It's part of the 35. It's a land. If it's late game and I don't need that land, great. I've got another option. And that's kind of what we're talking about here is how can you put more spells into your deck?
And it's all situational, right? If you need the kill spell, you got it. And maybe you miss a land drop, but you're able to take care of that glaring problem that you had to take care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just including them as lands now. And to me, that's definitely adding more spells because it's a part of my 35 land base. I'm not going to get all 35 out in a game. Sure. If I've got a solid 9, 10, what I need in rocks, and I get that Fell the Profane, then great. Now it's just a removal spell. But if I need it early game, it's coming in as a land, and that's just how I'm trying to look at them now. And it's helping, and I'm seeing the benefit more of why everyone lost their socks when these came out. Other than just like the three, I can bolt it in, or I can do this crazy win more spell.
Right.
What about Modern Horizons 3 with even the
That's what I'm saying. Those are now just like those
next level.
Yeah, those are just lands now, and they're just I don't want to say because again, they have to be played, but if you just look at it as a land, it's just a free spell.
Yeah,
because you're gonna put lands in your deck anyway. You're probably gonna put basics in there. They come in untapped. You just get a free spell.
Everything
now.
you want. Yeah,
yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, I think the Modern Horizons 3 is like really where like everything came to a crescendo when it comes to design spacing. Right. Almost to where some of them are a little pushed, right? Which is okay, right? That's what the Modern Horizon set should be.
Yeah.
Right. I know that we've all talked in some way or another of how to print into Commander only, right? Now that WotC's kind of taken over the format, like now that may be a thing, right? That they're able to print these Commander sets and it no longer is messing up the other Eternal formats, right? That it's printed only to Commander.
Catered right for the Commander.
Right. So it starts opening up that space even further because I can understand as this starts, increasing, Chris, you like hit the nail on the head that it's a land. Right. And if the spell gets too good, right, then why would you play anything else? Right. Than these
especially untapped.
Yeah. Right. So are there any MDFCs that you, Gino, particularly like over others? Are there any that that you would suggest to people that are watching that like, hey, if you have not tried these out, these are like my go-tos?
Yeah, I play a lot of the blue ones for sure.
Okay.
Sinking the Stuper's been great.
Okay.
For Modern Horizons 3.
Sure, and that's the one that's like Jace on a land?
It's the one that's
Venture,
yeah. It's like blue, one colorless. It can bounce a permanent or a spell on the stack back to the owner's hand.
Yeah, very strong, very strong.
Absolutely. Seagate Restoration's all in every blue deck pretty much.
Okay.
That one is just, it's too good.
It's too good.
It's too good.
It's too good.
The fact that give you no maximum hand size and be able to draw that many cards at once is just usually, that'll put you over the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, like I'm all in.
Yeah.
With these things that pretty much everyone that fits within the color is going in.
Yeah.
For the reason, Chris, that you indicated, right? It's a land. And so as I continued playing them with the bounce lands, that even if I bounce it back to my hand and then I'm playing it again the next turn,
yeah,
it still means that I have gotten to my next land drop. right? To where I'm no longer fighting for the next turn's land drop. I've already got it by the sacrifice of having 1 mana come in tapped.
Right.
The turn before, right? Because I'm effectively floating it.
Yeah.
The 1 turn before, but I'm getting the option of now having a spell that's in there. So not all of them are used. So I don't use the one that gives like double strike, the Boros one.
Okay.
To be honest, because I don't play a lot of Boros, right? I see no need for just 1 creature to get double strike.
Oh, it's not double strike. I think it's double power.
Oh, double power.
I thought you were going to say, I see no reason to play Boros, and I had a single tier. Come on.
No. So, I mean, if you're on the attack chain, then yeah, you're definitely into Boros, and I love me some good attack. So,
especially you can play it on someone else's creature. If someone's going in with a commander, you can get them on. Get them on.
Yeah, I've never thought about
commander
that
damage. You can do it on someone else's attack.
Okay.
So
like almost like a duelist heritage play.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. So
after blocks, a little combat trick, you know,
and it's still a land.
Right? Yeah.
It's too good.
Yeah, it's so good. So I mean, my real go-to, since I'm obviously a Gruul player, sitting more in the green suite.
Yeah.
To begin with, but or in the red as well. The red MDFC land.
I probably play those almost the least.
Sundering Eruption. Right,
it's the one that destroys the land, then creatures can't block.
Yeah, creatures without flying can't block.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's relevant. It's relevant.
It's a very nice, subtle way to put in a 1 single target land destruction spell, and it not seem like you're just going heavy into land destruction.
Right.
But it's really more for that your creatures essentially become unblockable.
Right.
Right. For
more times than not. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, even if you have 3 other people in the pod, it's very unlikely that all 3 of them have flyers.
Yeah.
Right. So you're allowing
quantity
yourself,
of flyers where it matters, right?
Right. Or they'll have to choose to block with the flyer that they don't want to block with. Right.
Yeah,
so it really makes it to where it is a very swing play, particularly when you go to do it, right? Because this is like between like turn 5 and turn 7.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
To where, like, let's say you're playing against a Yawgmoth player or a Crypt player, right? That's heavily using their life as a resource, that you can easily get in 15 damage to where it completely alters their gameplay through the course of the rest.
And get rid of their Cabal coffers at the same time.
Right. Oh, baby. Woo! That's what I'm talking about.
All right.
So
Spicy.
That's when we get into the hot takes. So, but outside of MDFCs, there's a ton of other modal cards that would be really cool for us to kind of highlight and kind of get into. So, if there's, I know personally, I use a lot of these, right? Because I play and have played Commander in a way that I want all of the options open to me at any point in the game, right? So, it means that I have a very large ramp package in every deck. Because typically most of the modal cards are not cost efficient. Right, so it demands more mana to be out there for it to happen. Is there any kind of where you guys sit with?
I think the ones that are slept on that are not super high costed and really kind of situational are the D&D ones, the original D&D ones. And I'm thinking particularly of you find some prisoners, which I believe lets you destroy an artifact or
exile the top
3 cards
of an opponent's.
So you kind of get, and I think that's like a red and 2, something reasonable like that.
I think so.
It's 1 and red.
Yeah. So great cards like that. I feel like, when people think of like Sublime Epiphany and those big ones that are 6 drop and you get to do all this crazy stuff. But like even in a Braid, like destroy an artifact, do 3 damage. Like having those options, I mean that is, in my opinion, set the pace for early game a ton of times. Where you see somebody ramp out hard and you can get that artifact on turn 2. Or you see somebody get something sneaky in, and they take a hit, you can get them within a Braid. I think a lot of those cards are just really good, and they don't have to be that over the top again win more card. It's more, this is what I need in this situation. It's just a Swiss Army knife.
Right. Just cleaning it up. Yeah.
I'm going to hold this in my hand. Yeah. And if nothing, you've got to be the judge of that, where if nothing's progressing where you need to use maybe the interaction side, now I've got a sweet spot where I can exile those cards and get a benefit from it. But it gives you that option. It gives you that knife in your pocket that you can use when you need. So I think those, in my opinion, I just don't see them played a lot. And I think there's a lot of them in the D&D set, kind of that part of the story of D&D cards. That was a really cool design space. But those are the ones that I think of right away that are kind of neat and don't see a lot of play that I try to use a little bit more. I know Abraid's not a part of that, but kind of still just having those options in the modal cards that aren't win more over the top cards.
No, I play those too. Those are really good. I like the ones from the D&D set. I also like the command. What are they called? Like the commands and the wills.
Oh yeah,
like Jessica's will or Akroma's will.
Yeah,
like all the like Urza's command and Kaya's command. Those are all pretty cool too. And they give you 3 or 4 options, and some of them let you pick 2 modes.
Right.
It really does. It's a flexible spell that can help you at any point in the game. If you're ahead, if you're behind, if you're early game, late game. There's, like you said, it's a Swiss Army knife there. You can just really use in many different situations.
To play devil's advocate, though, how many times are you casting Jessica's will and Akroma's will without your commander in play? Like, how many times are you making that choice?
Depends on the deck. I mean, I have a Tali CDH deck. Well, sometimes I'll play it just to get the mana. Right, I'll just do it for 7 red just to get a Tali out once. So I'd say it's really situational on the deck and where we're at in the game. You know.
Yeah, I like that Jessica's Will. So more often than not, I'm playing it for the mana, right? To get it's almost like a mana geyser on a very mini level, right?
Right.
However, on turn 3 to ritual to 7, right? That I'm probably getting to a point to where I'm a problem that's going to need to be dealt with by all players for the next 2 turns to rein in what probably happened and why I kept the hand. Akroma's Will, though, I use more as a protection spell until I go for a win.
It's great. It's defense or offensive.
Right.
It's
That it's
yeah.
The commands are a little different to me in the way that it goes back to how I used to deck build in more battle cruiser. Yeah. That I'm looking for all of the incremental value that I can get over everyone else, right? And that's really what I feel the commands do. So in my Brutaclad deck, I play Urza's command.
Yeah.
Because it'll give me a token, or if I get swung at by a lot of creatures, that I can, kind of diffuse them down by...
Scry draw card.
Right,
yeah,
right. So
great.
it allows me to do a few different things inside of that deck. And that deck is a really good example of, because it has a lot of MDFCs in it, that the deck itself is trying to play off of what everyone else is doing, but getting a little more value than each person what it's doing, right? So...
and I was just trying to devil's advocate because Jessica's Will, I think, makes sense. And my gosh, I don't remember the last time I played like Sakashima's Will or...
That one's actually pretty good in the right deck. To be able to clone all your creatures into one creature.
Right.
It's kind of like it's a quiet one, but I think it's good in the right deck for sure. That's Will too. Yeah, that one's kind of underplayed, but it's still both.
No, and still, it's just awesome. I just don't think I personally run those. I definitely run Jessica's and Akroma's.
Yeah.
And to me, but again, I think that's why we're talking about this, is that 9.5 times out of 10, I'm winning the game or trying to win the game with Akroma's Will.
Right.
But the fact that you can hold on to it and be like, I'm wider than you're wider, maybe not taller than you're taller, so I'm going to hit this, play defense.
And the lifelink,
and ride
pick that mode, right? I mean, you can totally bring you back into a game that you might have been out of.
Yeah.
So I guess, and we touched on a really good point here of the ones that we're pointing out are probably the ones that are used more often than the others. So, I'd like to take a second to kind of talk about, especially in the wills, right? That like Sat's will and Sakashima's will.
Kamal's will.
Yeah, of how, what would you need to do, or what decks could we find that would have these kind of cards in them that we could end up using, right? And so I can think right off of the bat for me with Sat's will, this is a really good token card, right? That it's 5 mana, it's instant speed, so I mean it's not like you got to hold up a decent amount of mana. However, typically there's somebody at the table playing something to do with the graveyard, right? That they're trying to use it as the second hand or something like that, to where at instant speed you could take it away and make a bunch of tokens. So I actually use this card in my Elenda deck.
Okay.
That it's a black token deck, right? And so it makes a lot of sacrifice fodder. So if you're in like an aristocrats theme or something like that, that getting rid of all of the graveyards and then making, X01 throws to the greatest power of a creature, right? It can be massive swing.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you're playing like a token pump, right? That you can get, 6 to 8 blockers in, right? To get a nice little defensive deal. So
that's interesting that you play it for the graveyard hate mainly. I would play it for the edict, and that's the way I'd be able to sneak extra graveyard hate into a deck.
Okay.
I'd play it for the edict spell.
Sure.
And then the graveyard hate would be gravy.
Okay. Yeah, I don't die to graveyards. Yeah. So you guys will soon learn that I'll pack in 3 to 5 ways to get rid of a graveyard, because it's for me.
Something
it's
you
the
guys
best
need to
way
know is Steve has an answer for everything. His deck building is impeccable, and hopefully you get a chance to play a
Soul
game.
Guide Lantern, and it's always Soul
Every
Guide
day.
Lantern. Gotta have it. I see Kamal's Will and probably something that I would do like a go wide with the lands. I have a Necrobloom deck that it might fit into just because that's a lot of tokens and landfall, Field of the Dead, things like that. So it's definitely like a go wide lands. I'm trying to get more lands in play. So if I'm turning them all into elementals and going wide that are indestructible, I'd see a home for it. As well
Plus
as
it's a
having,
removal
I was gonna
spell.
say having the removal spell on there as well. The other one that I just built that was kind of fun that might have a home in kind of a similar vibe was the Shrufus. The
sure.
fun guy.
Shroofy.
How do you not
Fungus
love him?
Among Us.
How do you not love him?
He's a fun guy. I heard he's a fun guy.
Get out. But yeah, in running that, obviously it's Saproling, Typal, and trying to go wide with that. But again, it's having that removal answer when you've gone wide and just adding to it. When someone doesn't expect, like, okay, they've already gone so wide with tokens and creatures, and now they're tacking on 10 or 11 more in lands that are coming through. Because usually in those go wide token decks, you've got something that you're going to try to buff on a big push through. So now all your lands are getting that as well. They're indestructible. So I can see it something definitely going in something in a go wide kind of theme that's land. Again, not land specific, but you're looking to get a couple of those extra lands out so you have that presence on the board to use something like that.
Plus, it's more of a bite spell than a fight spell, which green usually wants to fight. So having that bite, they have bite spells too, but the fact that it is a bite spell where it's a one-way damage is pretty nice as well.
Yeah, so I actually have a Kamal Fistagroza deck.
Yeah.
It's one of my top 10 decks that I've ever built.
Spicy.
It still remains.
Yeah.
But I learned this through Rude Awakening, that it's the original version, I think, of this type of... there's enchantments that make them all 1/1s, but this was like the first, I think, spell...
Widely played.
Yeah, that did it. I mean, granted, it also untaps your lands, right? So, like, it gets used for that. But turning them all into 2/2s, I think it's often missed of how many lands that you have in play.
Right.
Right? And so when you play a spell like this, that if you're at turn 10, you've just added 20 power to the board that's indestructible.
Yeah, that's a good
Right?
point.
And so usually in that timing of the game, people are more around, 50 to maybe 30% of their original life total, right?
Yeah.
And so this can close a couple of people out and clear blockers out of the way that you're saying. So I played this card in my Kamal deck, and it's a house. Right? Now, granted, it makes it even better that it's Typal, right? That's just, Kamal's Will doing Kamal, type of deal.
Kamal's going to Kamal.
Yeah, right. Kamal's going to Kamal. Right? And so I would say if you have not seen Kamal Fistagroza, please look it up. It is the best way in green to hold somebody hostage of casting a board wipe.
Yeah.
Because his activated ability will allow you to animate anyone's land into a 1/1 green creature.
Yeah.
Right? And so when someone says, well, I'm going to play Damnation, and it's like, well, this isn't going to end well for you. Right? But you can have that. I would say the first time that you do it, have the conversation before they cast it.
Yeah.
Right? So that way...
Social contract.
Right. Yeah. Because when you go to nuke all their lands, they're going to be...
Yeah, make sure it's a good friend and not someone in LGS you just met.
Again, Steve, the fair player, he's letting you know.
Right. I'll have
This
that
is what you
conversation
need to do to beat me, and this is what I'm about to do to you.
Yes. Yeah. Very often I will have that conversation of saying, hey, I understand that you have a board wipe.
Yeah.
However, if you cast that board wipe, this is what my commander is going to do.